All right, let's talk about Tyler Linderbaum, the first round center. First round pick from the Baltimore Ravens, plays center for them. Had a very good rookie year. Let's talk about what happened. First, if we want to look at his Pro Football Focus grades, you'll see that it was overall very good. He was the 6th highest graded center. However, there's a pretty big difference between his pass blocking and his run blocking in year one. Run blocking was, according to PFF, the 4th best in football. Pass blocking, however, was the 6th worst among eligible centers. Granted, you hear 6th worst and you might think it's a disaster, but he was still the 6th overall graded center because the pass blocking grade wasn't good, it actually wasn't quite as terrible as maybe you might expect when you hear 6th worst. A 53.5 grade is below average, but not a disaster by any means. And the run blocking grade was so good that it kind of made up for it, which is why he ended up being, the 74.6 overall grade throughout his, first season. And also, Ravens definitely run the ball a good amount. But going over here, this was his college page, because let's talk about his, what were the expectations for him and then what really happened. And you see that the past 2 years, he had really good PFF grades, really good, numbers across the board. The 2021 comparables, where he ranked among his peers in college in his last year before going to the NFL. The run blocking grade was a 96.6. That's an absurd one. And again, it's not like he was playing in some, Division II school or something. Playing at Iowa, there's solid competition there. But the run blocking was incredible. Pass blocking, not quite as good, but still solid. So this is what we kind of expected going in, was for him to be a dominant run blocker right away, who hopefully could be good enough at pass blocking. And I would say so far, that's exactly what we've seen from him. But let's go over to the tape and let's talk about the good, the bad, everything in between. One thing I've been very pleasantly surprised by with Linderbaum is how well he's read plays. And this is a play that you see, right off the bat could give young players some trouble. I mean, you have two players who are lined up in the A gap, right? In between the center and the guard, right next to Linderbaum on either side. Either of those guys could be blitzing, and if they are, you have to be prepared. Linderbaum's read is to his right on this play, so you don't really worry about the guys to your left, which would be, again, he's facing us. So for us, it would be he's looking towards the left side of the screen, not paying as much attention to the right side of the screen, but he has to be very aware of who to block and making sure he blocks the right guy. Right off the bat, they both drop back, but another player is doing something here. It's, some guy, you might have heard of him, a solid player named TJ Watt. Yeah, pretty good. He's the guy who's going to eventually swing over and get into where Linderbaum is supposed to block. And if Linderbaum doesn't pick this up, I wouldn't blame him whatsoever. However, Linderbaum does eventually read it, gets over, blocks TJ Watt. Ball was thrown away regardless, but still, I think he did his part there in not allowing for a pressure to happen right away in a very confusing situation. And these are definitely things that I've seen Linderbaum do pretty consistently so far in his young career for Baltimore. Also going over here, talking about the running game, this is definitely something that I think that we've seen him do a very good job of, which is run blocking in general, but especially stuff like this, where getting up to the next level is something we felt like, his college tape, he was really good at it. We felt like it would translate well to the NFL level, and so far it absolutely has, where that's what he's supposed to do. It's a double team. He is obviously the center on this play. You're going to double team the interior defensive lineman who's lined up against the center, but what Linderbaum has to do is pass off that interior defensive lineman and then get up to the next level to block a linebacker. And oh yeah, by the way, that interior defensive lineman named guy, you might have heard of him, Cam Hayward. Pretty good player for Pittsburgh. Hey, you're playing Pittsburgh Steelers. You got a lot of good defensive linemen you got to worry about. First things first, I think you see him do a pretty good job at getting his guard in position to be able to block him. I think he does a good job of doing the double team the right way, getting Hayward enough to allow his guard to be in position to block him, but not overdoing it. You see some, especially young players, go in the wrong direction. They spend too much time making sure they pull off the double team, which works, except now you have a linebacker who's just right in the gap, and you actually don't gain any yards because of it. You have to get to the next level. Linderbaum is ready to do that. Watch how he pushes off and immediately gets over, and the hand placement is really what makes him work, I think. The quick hands, and getting his hands where he needs them to be quickly, and getting in position to where now he can do what he wants to the linebacker he's blocking. As you see, he does pull off that block. The run is through that gap, and it ends up being a 40-plus yard run that nearly resulted in a touchdown, largely due to what Linderbaum was able to do. It's the quickness in the hands that's definitely something that I think he does at a high level. And a lot of people sometimes when they see young players, they'll say, hey, I'd rather just have the guy who is, big and strong and talented, and I'll teach him the technique later. But a guy like Linderbaum tends to have a much higher hit rate coming out of the draft because while he, a knock on him was he was a bit undersized. But at the same time, if you can win consistently in college, you're probably going to win consistently at the NFL level because you're finding a way to win at a very high level, at least when it comes to offensive linemen, that tends to work for them. And for Linderbaum, it certainly has been working. Now, we got to go over to some negatives, right? We saw that the grade wasn't great in the pass blocking grade. And to be honest, listen, I know some people think, oh, you love PFF and think they can do no wrong. No, I disagree with some of their grades all the time. That's just natural, right? I don't think that they're gods. And I do think that he was maybe a little better than the grade would indicate, just in my opinion. But the grade is the grade. Fair enough. But I think that there was some good stuff in the pass blocking grade, but not all perfect stuff. And when did things go wrong? Well, it was stuff like this that I actually think he could fix a little bit, which is sometimes he actually moved a little too quick in some of these areas. Right now, 1-on-1 block against Hayward. Again, tough situation for a center. I mean, a rookie center going up 1-on-1 against one of the best interior defensive linemen in the game, that's just tough. You see how he gets the snap off and then quickly moves over. Because, again, it's hard, right? You have to get the ball snapped, but then you have to get your hands up. That little split second just gives the defender a big advantage. And it's why typically you don't like to have centers one-on-one blocking because of, even though that feels like not a huge advantage, every little bit matters so much. The technique matters so much in those positions that just that slight advantage is a huge advantage. And you see how Linderbaum went a little bit over towards the left, and Hayward is going to take advantage. Watch Hayward pull off this swim move. He really, was able to get the hand placement he wants there. Ball got thrown away, completed before he got there. But still, that is definitely an example of a loss. I think that's fair to say. But that was really kind of it. I didn't think there was a lot of massive losses. That was just one of them that I saw. And to be honest, I also thought there were plays like this where, again, it's going to be a one-on-one block right here. So, okay, difficult situation, trying to block Hayward once again here in this one-on-one matchup. Actually, quick correction in real time. That's number 57, not 97. That is not Cam Hayward. But anyways, watch what happens on this play. Right off the bat, again, you see a pretty similar situation to that last one. And you could argue that Linderbaum is in trouble, but I feel like Linderbaum did a pretty good job of coming back after being in these situations last year. Watch how he is able to really drive the defensive lineman further away, and he's able to win this block, even though it looked like a bit of a peculiar position at a certain point, because again, he had the hand placement he wants, which he does a very good job of doing. So as a whole, did Linderbaum live up to expectations? I would say absolutely. I was very high on Linderbaum. Anytime you get a player who basically everyone agrees is great, the only knock is they're a little bit undersized and they play a position like center, which I actually think is undervalued. I think centers are still very important aspects of the offensive line. To me, that's worth more than just a late first-round selection, and it was just kind of one of those situations where only so many teams need centers, so the guy like that falls, but he ended up getting a pretty good player, and it's a good job by the Baltimore Ravens to pick him up, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Linderbaum and about the Ravens. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.